saying in these openings, right? Whenever we're not directly discussing these or making time to discuss projects that are directly discussing these things, addressing these things, figuring out innovation towards these things, right? It's an overall complicity to contribution to all of these things. And, we all have a lot of work, right? A lot to be busy with, right? So I'll close with this, and um, uh, anything I missed, put in its proper place. But hopefully, this is a sufficient opening, y'all. We can get right into it. I know we left off in a very interesting place when it comes to Turtle Wolf and Bear, um, and integrating it into Journey's into the Journey spec a little bit more so. We can get into that document. I don't know if there's anything else on folks' minds. I don't want us to feel limited to Journeys as well. As long as we have each other here, we can speak to anything that's on our minds as it comes to advocates. But since it is the title of the event, and these are some interesting discussions that have been pretty consistent and can be implemented as soon as as soon as they're discussed here, as they have been. It makes sense to start with Journeys if you guys are up to it. But yeah, um, yeah, I'll leave the floor open for anything on folks' minds. I have some thoughts on how we can integrate Turtle Wolf and Bear, and I'm going to throw that on the table before we get any concrete diagrams or language out there, outward facing. Yeah, good to see you guys. Hero, Mark. I can kickstart us off. Uh, in the last sessions I had mentioned uh, some of Haas's thinking on the power in the micro DAOs, and that being one of the more obvious places that stuck out for myself at least, and where Turtle Wolf and Bear would be relevant. So I thought that out a little bit more.
Recording in progress.
What happened? What happened?
Recording in progress.
Yeah, sorry. Let me move locations if I can. 1 second. It could take me a while to move, so let me at least get something to the floor. If you guys can hear me.
You don't have to. I was just like
Reminded.
you wouldn't get it, Harold. You have to check the meeting chat.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Zoom says. Okay. All right. Um, cool. I thought the wind was getting too bad as it was. But yeah, I was thinking about that a little bit more. We can get to that, but I was thinking about it even broader than that too. The overall flow, um, and I think there's a few places that are again more obvious, and a few places in the spec that Haas has gotten down so far that are not so obvious that we can speak to. We'll get the document back into the chat for folks to get into if they want to see it. And we'll make changes after this discussion if we can, if everybody agrees with how we're thinking about it. So the spec's in there again, and if you guys go through it, you'll notice that the ideation and workspace phase, um, I think the ideation makes sense for Wolf Clan flow. Folks opting into that that are a part of that respective journey, getting to know Wolf Clan in the concepts that come with it, at least for the context of their journey. Obviously, this can fractal out, and their understanding can fractal out if there's a need for governance or other parts of the advocates system. But for this, it can also go a long way just for this context. As we integrate these clan design into the flow, and the workspace facilitation, I think makes sense for Bear Clan. along with the Journey Team office hours that are mentioned there. Um, uh, and when it comes to um, uh, the payment, um, there's I think, a more turtle, wolf, and bear. Although we haven't seen a turtle come up in this particular flow yet, I think it's possible that we maybe uh, uh, discuss that if there is a place for it in workspace, uh, somewhere that I don't see. But I definitely see it pop up when it comes to the part of the flow where there's part of the components and flow where there's mechanisms of payment or transfer, or things are getting more official in terms of grant writing and these type of things. And so I think it's obvious that the observer's turtle, as mentioned before, but I think it makes sense that uh, the grantor is wolf, um, and the journeyers is bear. Uh, uh, just as it relates to the traits, journeyers, if I'm just for clarity, is I think going to be somebody that's a representative as a part of the actual journey, and the other admin-like roles in the MicroDAO um, will be other folks that it's just really more about representation or reputation, I should say, that's on the line when it comes to uh, uh, staying honest in this particular role of power. Um, but yeah, there's some other points here that are there in the flow that I wanted to speak to as well. Um, there's a part of facilitation that I think speaks to Wolf as well. This part here, a few bullets down. Um, I think it's still in the ideation flow, or right after the ideation in the flow. It says, after feeling okay about the journey proposal, a journey member would propose to post the journey as a grant, right? Fellow community members should be invited to voice their opinion to the journey so that they would have a reason to support it or not when it moves to the grant step, right? So I think that this, if there are going to be a list of duties or what have you related to each clan within each respective journey, that's an important role for folks that wouldn't mind it, and according to the traits that they've um, kind of opted into, right? Um, you know, this is really a facilitation role, a gathering of the minds role, and a big part of the journey's flow when it comes to carved community support, right? Just ready for folks that are looking, for that support. This is a big part of how it's designed into it, in the way that Haas has mentioned it in language, or designed for it in these tooling. And so, it's I don't think it could be overstated how big this is. So I was thinking of that as a point for Wolf Clan, and I think there was another thing in here that maybe I already spoke to earlier in components. Is this just the flow of the components? But yeah, those are some of the things I wanted to mention and run by you guys as a means of integrating the clans, more closely into journeys, and see if it makes sense for you guys. Let's see, I'll just run that by and see if it sparked any other ideas from you guys. If there was some questions as to how it works, right? If we're talking about turtle, wolf, and bear, to like broad participants of journeys, however that would work. I would hate to add more roles, or whether we're talking about each respective journey, right? And having making sure each respective journey has a turtle, wolf, and bear function flowing somewhere within each journey. I also don't want to leave out something we spoke to in these sessions before, which is originally we had imagined that the entirety of journeys could be Bear, and Bears can be then anybody in journeys participating in journeys can be plugged into governance. I think this should still be the case where now even more so where some understanding of the clan systems can be required to participate in the flow. So it makes even more sense. It makes it easier for folks to plug into any governance flows that we can achieve. And but yeah, that'll be my thoughts on the clan integration. I don't know, how do you guys feel about it, or making it official, including it in documentation and whatnot.
Uh, yeah. One thing that I picked up was the what was it? Like having the community voice their concerns and stuff before submitting a grant. I think that part itself might resolve like having that part there might resolve whatever review process that we might need to translate things to or through a structure um, to the foundation basically to because the one thing I think or one friction point has been um, the the reasoning behind this or why should we fund this, that kind of thing. Of course it is what it requires and what always requires is having enough community support, trust, and that kind of thing. The when you start to define the roles for the client, like uh, in the DAO contract specifically, or the journey contract specifically, um, and had the Wolf Clan. Uh, you know, think what you mentioned be the people that uh, review that kind of the grants. Um, I'm not sure the structure. I can't really remember the structure that you mentioned. It's good to it's good to have like an integration um, of these roles into the micro DAO contract of a particular grant. So just to recap for everyone, the way we've been thinking about this to maximize accessibility to stats, SCX tokens, um, and at the same like guarantees against abuse is to have someone who can revoke funding, for example, or a funding proposal, um, based on like because of that abuse, of course, or take the money outright, take the money out of the contract uh, if the abuse necessitated that. So so we have this we have a structure, but not the content. What Harold was talking about was the content itself. Like, where do we place the clans in such a structure? And I think having any initial like shape for this, I think is the goal. That's my contribution.
No, thank you kindly, man, for rephrasing and reframing a lot of what we're trying to do here. It's always important, and you always bring a lot of clarity to it, I think. And yeah, thank you kindly for mentioning some of the benefits possibly of the integration. You know, something popped up in my head as you were speaking too. I was, contemplating even as reading through the spec with you guys here, which is the office hours, right? Not only would that be good for Bear Clan, but also Turtle Clan, right? Because not only in the roles of power um, uh, portion of journeys where, you know, hopefully there can be those of us that have been consistent in these sessions and others with good concepts of turtle wolf and bear are the first turtle wolves and bears in journeys, right? Hopefully, and and you know being able to speak to commons and lend support to grant writing or projects through these lens of system design is, I think, going to be a really unique function of Turtle in office hours, or a unique function of any of the clans in terms of the support, and the kind of support that we can offer, right? That has its own advocates funk to it. But then, the role of Wolf Clan, as you're touching on, Haas, again, I don't think it can be overstated. Um, uh, you know, I think along with Turtle Clan, the duties that we could possibly list, or responsibilities for Wolf Clan in this system design for journeys, um, can go a long ways in terms of that bridge work and communicating the value, right? Um, uh, Particularly, right? Bear Clan is all about bridge work, right? So, folks may have opted into Bear Clan particularly because of having this trait, right? Of uh, uh, being able to um, either speak to some transformative potential in folks when need be. That's sometimes a big part of bridge work, but also in language, right? Make that bridge work tangible. So I think the combination of the facilitation of Wolf Clan in this regard, to facilitate real and engender real community support, is going to be huge. But the 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 function of Turtle Clan and all of this, and Bear Clan is going to be huge as well. It would start to come together for us nicely when it comes to what Haas was speaking to, which is communicating value outwardly, which is a huge advantage, right? To kind of be able to merge what our community advantages, what our community benefits, with broader ecosystem goals, right? Tangible innovation, which we know is the case, but there can be huge gaps in understanding, huge gaps just in time. And this is a part of the scalability that I think Haas maybe have touched on a little bit in terms of each journey having its own turtle, wolf, and bear means that this can be recognized even at the edges of the system, right? Where it's a lot easier to recognize at the core of the mapping that we speak to often, thanks to a hero really, broadening our perspective of what community can mean. It could just mean somebody with a wallet that's hopped into the server, or very new in this way, right? But to ensure that not only is the core being understood, but the edges are being understood through help of the core and through the wealth plan, right, is huge. So I'll shut up and see if that sparks anything for folks. But thank you again, Haas, for mentioning some of this. And I think we're getting more clarity, or things are getting added to the integration as we flow here. But yeah, I'll leave the floor open. Good to see you, Doc. We're just flowing here. What could likely be some further implementations for journeys. We're speaking to integrating our clan design even further into the technical spec. Also thinking, and I think forming some of our outward-facing language around what journeys can be, right, in terms of alternative path to community support and grants, right, and a distributed power alternative, right, and along with a more decentralized alternative, right, in terms of review processes and things like this, which I think I wanted to speak to as well, right, in terms of how that, some of what Haas was speaking to and some of what I just spoke to is going to be huge and will be most tangible in whatever our review processes look like. The spec speaks to it a little bit. Let me see if I can find it. But I know this will be, I think it's going to be one of the more beautiful things about this system, right, is decentralizing this effort of reviewing, which can get hard in a centralized way, but decentralizing it, but also having distributed power for it is huge. But it can also speak to folks in each respective journey actually having a time or passion for whatever's being spoken to in the journey, right? Where from a centralized perspective, there can be huge gaps in, technical understandings or community understandings. But with the review process being fairly internal for each respective journey, with the balance of the roles, power roles that Haas has designed into this, and the clan design and governance if it's ever needed, it's turning into something fairly robust, even at a small scale, right? That hopefully be a beautiful thing in terms of not missing any gaps. But yeah, I'll shut up now and leave the floor open. I'll also try to find exactly where we speak to reviews briefly in the spec, and maybe make this a point of emphasis for some of the clan roles, responsibilities. But yeah, the floor is open. I don't know, Merrick or Hero, or if folks, if this sparked anything for you guys. I know you guys have been thinking about this since the last session, at least. You had to be excited as I was for it. Right?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So okay. Um. So okay. A bunch of different things that I want to like touch on. So I gotta slow down and pick which part I want to start with. But I really just one of the things that came up when you were speaking, and this is a while back. I was gonna speak this earlier, but I'll say it now. When you're talking just about just like one small part of this component, like that role of like just the observer, which can only like dissent, and that like and just to clarify, like that part ties into Turtle Clan, and that's part of what you were saying, right? I want to make sure I understood that part correctly.
Yeah, this returning, right? Like sending it back, right? And this was spoken to recently in the Longhouse, right? Like this, the importance of, in the band council, reinterpretation, a very intentional reinterpretation of clan design, which doesn't really get implemented in their decision making at all. So that's why it doesn't matter when they change things, right? But they change things in a harmful way for folks that are trying to learn, in a sense that they'll give Turtle Clan wolf function. So we'll try to make Turtle Clan the facilitator, the gatherer of minds, the pathmaker. And one of the points of Longhouse is like, well, you're making something that is supposed to be returning the initiator, giving, right? And the pitfalls of that, right? The pitfalls of that lack of understanding. And so, yeah, just a long yes, Merrick, to some of that thinking. That's specific to the that particular part of the flow, right? To where those those particular roles pop up for the first time, I think, right? The admin-like roles that Haas wanted to be sure was there for checks and balances. But I think there's, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say, again, in the office hours too, which are kind of part of the components and flow, kind of even before you get to some of that final descent on whether or not it gets goes through to that funding phase where Turtle comes in. I think Turtle can come in the office hour. It's an important part of the office hours flow component too. But yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, this was another question I had. At that office hours part, is that talking about having, like, something like us being the Journeys team opening office hours, or is this each individual journey having its own set of office hours, for anyone to come and interact with the journey?
It's an important question. I think maybe it should be both. Just initially thinking at it, it makes sense, especially at the beginning, for folks who have a real firm grasp of the traits of Turtle, Wolf, and Bear to hold off, have a real good grasp of what Journeys is, how to flow through it, right? So it makes sense for us, some of us, to be there consistently, but then it also makes sense for there to be moments where it can be a point of accessibility, real-time meeting point of accessibility for folks in respective journeys. So, no, thanks for mentioning that. I don't thought that deep. Yeah, that'd be beautiful. I don't know what you guys think, but yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Was that it, Merrick? Thank you kindly. Yeah, I don't know if it sparks anything for you, Hero. Yeah.
Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clear.
No, I don't have much to add in terms of the roles. I think I think just like with other current initiatives where we want to try and tailor them a little bit more towards the clan system using different animals, I think this is another area where we are trying to do that. So yeah, I think definitely support of trying out the animal system. Sorry, my language. It's just the turtle, wolf, bear system in this journey. So yeah, I definitely would love to see how that would go. I'm more my headset, my mind is where my mind's at is more like more um, actually on the practical side of actually just laying down the current design, so to speak, and then just start using them because we will find out what is missing or what is not missing, what's doing well, what's not doing well. We can't. It's not. It. We won't have a perfect design right now. So just by doing it, we will realize many of the little things we need to add here and there. So my mindset is currently a little bit um, where the practical, like that's for example, that's put through one journey using the current um, the most up to date thinking where we're at with animals and just trying it out. Um, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, we can get some, I guess, some concurrent flows going, right? Some journeys flows and some, still have some due diligence to do in some of the governance or consensus flows. And they both have clan design now, so it'd be nice to have them going simultaneously. And I couldn't agree more. To get some of this integration, it kind of like a final touch that was needed to get, like you said, a design actually practical and make us feel good about it. So, no, thank you, Kami Hiro. It's a good action item for us. Potentially by the end of this meeting, especially if all of this makes sense to folks, as I've said it, I've started to add little emojis to the spec to not forget some of the things that I mentioned. I'll try to mention what Merrick added as well to the office hours, which I think would be important.
Yeah, one thing I will probably just going off what you just said, like if we find it useful, like like when we try it, like I can help make like a flow chart that I made, which is more.
I lost you a little bit. Did anybody else lose it?
I'm sorry.
I lost your
Oh,
I lost your audio. At least I did. As you were explaining.
yeah, my computer might be just overheating. How about now?
It's still kind of choppy. Keep going. Keep going.
Yep. So what I was saying was um, uh, I can help produce a picture, like a JPEG of how the process works, like what I did with the concept, code of conduct resolution thing, where it just have some text and some animals. Um, so it can be followed by the people actually using it.
Yes, it'd be perfect. Yeah, I remember mentioning that as well. I think it'd be nice if they were, even if they were similar, folks get used to seeing the turtle from bear pop up in that way alongside models and the tooling in a nice way like that. So thank you kindly. You were fading in and out for me. I don't know if it's the same thing happening for other folks, but I think I got the gist of you mentioning this again. You mentioned a JPEG of using this as a.
Yeah, I mentioned that I can help create another JPEG, a little bit
Yes,
like
yes.
the code of conduct JPEG of the flow. But yeah, it's just like a picture, simple. Nobody has to go to another link to follow it, to follow the whole process. Like somebody can just take a JPEG and then just follow the overall process.
Yes, it's nice. It'd be perfect, Mike. Thank you kindly. Yeah, yeah. I'll try to get the emojis in place everywhere in the spec, and maybe that can be a guide for us to get one of those things going. And yeah, thank you kindly for your ears listening to me. At least describe how I was thinking about it, and yeah, I'm sure much like how Merrick was adding and Haas added some things or sparked some things for myself. We'll continue to see other places for things to pop up or roles or responsibilities that get added. Yeah, it'll be nice to see. All right. Yeah, it feels like we've been here only 20 minutes for some reason, but yeah, let me know if there's anything else on you guys' minds when it comes to journeys, or we don't have to stay on journeys. Like I said, we can take this time to discuss other things too in our minds. I know we had some issues that kind of overlap with journeys when it comes to outward-facing language and having what we're thinking of here, what we've been discussing here, as a way of engendering dialogue amongst other people, real time and asynchronously. We can have some nice outward-facing language of this stuff in a nice formal, wolf-approved issue, right? So I don't know if folks want to get into a little bit of that. I think Haas does a nice job and maybe could help us in some ways while we have him here, if it's possible, with a lot of the reframing that you do, Haas, in these sessions. Even if it's for debriefing folks just coming in, or Hero yourself, you have some really good language that I think would be good for outward-facing content, right, around journeys that can go into, a list of issues that we have in active issues, right, along with the code of conduct stuff. And I think there was one other issue that we wanted to touch on as well in regards to oral constitutions and some iteration on code of conduct. But yeah, I don't know. You guys have any? Even if it's just talking in these sessions, right? Maybe I can remember, some of the phrasing you guys have chosen and get it down for us, and that'll make a nice complement to the JPEG that you mentioned, Hero. But yeah, Haas, do you have any ideas around, what language we want to settle on as it relates to both the tooling and the modeling? There's, community grants phrasing that I think is on the table as of late, right? That we may want to decide on, including into the language. But it could, I think.
Are you talking about like the naming?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's naming that's a big part of this, of outward-facing language, of course, but also just how we want to describe the flows, right? Like maybe the broader naming is community grants, but then we use journeys to describe some more of the flows of the tooling model. What do you think?
Say that again. I'm sorry. I lost you.
I was thinking that yeah we should be thinking of like outward facing naming like that of the model as a whole, but then also I think we don't have to do away with journeys when describing how you flow through the model, right? But yeah, I just wanted to get some of that on the table, not just for you but for everybody, how folks feel about language decisions and uh, how we want to start to formulate it right for content, for outward facing content. If the technical spec is more for us in these sessions we've been having, you know, Haas, yourself, or Hero, how do you guys imagine, along with naming and other things, we start to describe the flows in a more plain language way?
I think so. How I imagine this to flow, and you know, you guys should definitely give me your opinion on this. But I would rely. I always rely on tried and true forms, such as specifically as the welcome team, for example, which it yeah, I think my voice is cutting off. Let me try to raise
You're okay.
the
Okay, I can hear you at least. Okay.
okay. So the how I see it, potentially evolving is having um, like clear clear simple definition of like duties, and having like someone that is close to the design of the system, like do a lot of the operations, and then through the experience with someone who has uh, been through a journey, for example, or someone who has been participating in the review process, that can get automated, or not automated, but sort of decentralized. That's the way that I've been thinking about it, to be honest, um, because it has worked before, and the the incentive for right now in the welcome team, I think it's mixed between um, trying to get to know other people and trying to keep the quality of the community, like keep the community high quality, um, and a little bit of like the monetary, which like props, which is probably so is in the what I imagine with journeys, since it's all around building trust and relationships in the community. What yeah, this is amazing also for some other reason. But what would the what would incentivize people to actually participate in the experiment, uh, either either in administration operations, or I think evaluations, is the is that they could be in in any position at any time. Like in a journey, they could be in position one. Another journey, they can be in position two. In a third journey, they can be in position three. They could be proposing a journey. They could be reviewing a journey. They could be administrating a journey. So that means that the incentive would be to do um, good so that others might do good. While to me, if I'm in a position that would be criticized, or that would need um, collaboration, or someone to put effort into a part that I'm not holding, or into a position that I'm not holding. So the incentive becomes more intrinsic, since you want others to treat you the same you would treat them. I heard this anecdote about a structure, a human community structure where the roles or the jobs are kind of change every year or something. So if you're a cop and you decide to put someone in jail, they can put you in jail the next year. So that's how I've been thinking about mutual benefit. That's mutual benefit. That I think also is probably an extension of intrinsic motivation.
Oh, no, thank you kindly, Haas. Oh, yeah, I think some of that, especially what you mentioned around the flows, being similar to the welcome team, and it's kind of good help for the content as well, along with some of what you just mentioned around the observer roles or admin roles and things like this, and the diversity of ways of opting into the model. I think that lends itself, and it should be included into the content, right? Of any outward-facing content. But yeah, I'll just leave the floor open for yourself, Hero, or anybody here, Merrick. Fred, welcome. Good to see you, man. Doc, any contributions coming to mind for yourself? We spent some time before you came in discussing a little bit further integrating the clan design into journeys more so than we've been thinking about it before. Finding places that speak to facilitation, obviously speak to Wolf Clan, right? Other parts of the flow speak to inviting community members to participate in respective journeys to get their ideas. So gathering the minds, or path making in that way of Wolf Clan is another way that we saw Wolf Clan speaking to accessibility, or being the well of some of the flows of journeys. And we found places in similar ways for Bear and Turtle. I think in previous sessions we spoke to it briefly. So we ran that by each other, and before, I think getting just a few emojis into the spec to guide us, which could inform some more diagramming on Hero's part. And as we kind of rounded off, speaking to some of the more nuanced ways that the clan design will speak to scalability and distributed power and review, closing gaps in, concentrated or top-down models of implementing grants or what have you. We started to get into what will be a big part of us getting this dialogue to folks beyond just ourselves in these sessions that are here pretty consistently every week, but to the folks that maybe can't get to it scheduling-wise or time zone-wise, right? We can use the active issues tooling to help engender this conversation getting to other folks. And some outward-facing language is and content. It's going to be needed for journeys at some point anyway, so this is a good opportunity for us to start thinking about that. I mentioned, Hero and Haas. A lot of folks here do a good job of reframing whenever need be these discussions and what we're trying to achieve with the model. And so Haas just mentioned some things as it relates to outward-facing, flows that I think would be helpful for outward-facing onboarding mechanisms or what have you. And so when thinking about content, some of these things Haas spoke to even make sense to include them, include these things into include this type of language or phrasing of incentives into the outward-facing content as much as possible, as concise as possible. But is there any other things that come to folks' minds when it comes to what you guys have heard Haas and myself speak to earlier in this session in terms of what Journey's trying to achieve, right? In terms of a bottom-up systems design approach to grants, right? Is there ways that you guys would phrase this? Anything that come to mind that has already been phrased in these sessions that we should really emphasize or focus in the content that we're thinking about? And this again can make up a nice active issues proposal as well to get it to the broader advocates community.
Yeah, no, I was trying to think as you were talking, and I honestly at the moment can't think of anything myself. I've missed like the past few weeks of meetings just because of like personal life stuff that went on. And I believe I heard you say that this would probably be like one of the last Journeys like events that you host on Discord. Is that right?
No. No, we'll still be here. There might have been a lack of clarity on my part as I tend to go long-winded. No, it's beautiful to have you, Doc. Yeah, we feel free to ask us to catch you up any way, shape, or form in these sessions or what have you. And we'll debrief you into what we've been up to in the last sessions. But it's pretty much been this, right? Thinking more recently about how to integrate the clan design into the flow of journeys, which is again like our attempt at more accessibility being brought to grants, particularly more even non-technical grants or community growth focused grants. But also technical, right, as well. But also building in through the design of the flow and the tooling, in right here in Discord, community support, help in writing a grant or help in ideation even of what is not a fully fleshed out idea, right? So this is what we're trying to just throw on the table back and forth to each other around, now that we've gotten through the weeds of a lot of the technical spec and now and then went through it again with layering in the clan integration. Now we're trying to put heads out of the weeds and explain it to folks like yourself who aren't so familiar with where we've been and all of the technical nuances of what's going on. So you're perfect. You're in the perfect session today, right, to help us make this all make sense. Right? But yeah, thank you kindly for your voice, and I hope everything is good. With the family and at home. It's good to have you. Thank you kindly as always, man.
Yeah, no, I greatly appreciate these sessions because it's nice to just be able to, pop in and kind of just get a feel for what's going on inside like the governments of Stacks. Like I said, honestly, I can't think of anything. And yeah, all's been pretty well. I ran into like a rough few days where I had to hurry up and get a bunch of stuff sorted out all at once. But other than that, it's been good. I've just been staying really, really, really busy lately.
Good, man. Good to hear, man. Good everything. Glad everything's okay. And yeah, it's good to have you, man. It's good to have you. And yeah, like I said, it's perfect. Not just perfect session, but perfect timing in the session. I'll throw it to the floor again. If somebody like Hero or Merrick or anybody here, Haas, as we try to achieve some outward-facing phrasing or language, including naming, right? Are we all okay with community grants being something that gets slapped on top of journeys to make it make sense for folk? I think it does make sense, and maybe it gives us more of a community focus than a technical one, but we don't have to ostracize technical folk either. How do you guys feel?
I think the name thing is like the last part. It really doesn't matter. Like at this point, it really doesn't matter.
Cool. Yeah, me too. Especially, it could help folks make sense of what's going on and what makes it different than from regular Stacks grants or the grant program. Yeah.
Haas, I thought I remember a while ago you were quite insistent on journeys. Wouldn't you?
Well, I think we should still use journeys.
Right.
But yeah, I think we should still use it, but we use it to describe the flows within the program.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily seeing it on the front end, but it's a way to describe the journey, as in that's the flow of the whole process.
Well, yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense for the naming too, right? Like, if you just say journeys, folks may not ever know there's a grants aspect to it or component to it, and there is, right? So
yeah.
But we shouldn't forget journeys either, because I think it does speak to the bottom up and horizontal upskilling aspect that we really want to achieve.
For me, it's really like it's yeah, like we can call it donkey dicks, and I'm good as long as it's just like funds my brother Agfa or something. Doesn't really matter to me.
So we can call it micro grants now. Because I remember a while ago I was saying, oh, it could be called that, and you said, no way, it has to be journeys.
You know what? You can have this one here.
No. I don't actually want. I actually would like something more authentic and more original. So I was gonna ask Harold, actually.
Yeah.
Is there something from the Longhouse guys, like indigenous people? Is there any phrases that they use
to describe community gathering or something like this?
Yeah, community support, community gathering.
I mean, I know Commons is a huge,
Right.
is a huge thread through what we do.
I mean, what about, do they do some charitable stuff, giving out stuff? I don't know.
Like from what I understand here, it's almost like that this is so ingrained in the culture that it's not named. Like
Yeah.
Since access to commons is guaranteed,
Okay.
it's like it's not a program. The way that we're doing we're doing a program because the current system isn't like as natural as it is in I think the native community. But and correct me if I'm wrong, Harold. That's the way I've been thinking about it, really.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to try to make any parallels, especially naming wise, to particularly something that's connected, still in this instance, connected to money, right? In terms of grants being, still having that monetary, being loaded with that monetary thing. And so, maybe that is something that we want to
Money is
actually.
fake.
Uh,
Money is fake.
yeah. Yeah, so it would probably be hard pressed to find something that is, a direct parallel. But because because we're thinking about it from a commons design perspective, commons is definitely probably the most applicable. But probably use just as much good as journeys when it comes to describing what's going on right off the.
Yeah. The way I've been thinking about it also is like this is just like one step, or another step towards commons, because with the advocates program and governance around it, that might actually develop into something that might through journeys might outgrow the source code algorithm or the source code instance that we have through journeys. It's just one step in that evolution. I think once we have once we touch like true access to commons, true access to resources, like as I mentioned, so like a fridge that anyone can go and take what they need, not and that at the same time having like these guards for hoarding, for example, these guards for um, um, like not non-alignment with the values of community-based community care and generosity, that kind of thing. Because if that doesn't exist, like when I say fridge, I mean heroes' ability to organize things, or my ability to develop things, heroes' knowledge of the native models, Marx. Mark's huge knowledge also, Merrick's development and also knowledge and that linking between the two, that kind of thing. Just like bringing all these things together and trying to put it into one word is definitely difficult to do. But if we get to that point, if we get to the point where we feel that we have access to all of that through kindness, with kindness, like not through like official channels, that are full of or defined by scarcity instead of it would be defined by abundance. I think that then we wouldn't need any because the structure itself has all of these things within it. So that's that's why I really didn't care about like the naming, because I think it's with the ethics program, it's just like one step of trying to take or give more power to at part of the community, or the community, whatever you want to call it. And with Journeys trying to take more power and also give it to the community, not by force. Like this, all of this is being done like in coordination with the foundation. I think that one of their goals is to have is to give the community control of that these resources, instead of like the current what happens currently. But I think that's like the primary goal, trying to have that felt autonomy, felt access, not like mysterious access, if we might call it now, with the 50-50 chance with the grants program, for example, for many of us.
You just reminded me of a lot right now, right? Because as you guys are talking, I'm trying to, still think of outward-facing content, the language, and you reminded, the Longhouse often say, the protons, neutrons, and electrons don't tell you nothing about what's going on, right? But Turtle Wolf and Bear teaches you about traits. It actually is showing you what's going on, right? Giving you into the details of organization at that very fundamental level. And you have traits to work with to have understanding. You'll even go into how the diagrams are actually misleading, right? The diagrams we all get exposed to in terms of the dynamics of